Hey guys, it's James Walsh here from the Wrestling Epicenter. I'd like to thank you for finding us here on YouTube. If you get the opportunity, please click that subscribe button as well as the notifications bell. This way, anytime that we upload any new content or new to you content from our archives dating back to 2002, you'll be notified. You can check out what we're up to. Please also check out www.wrestlingepicenter.com for all your wrestling news and information needs, as well as check out our store to keep us running free and clear. Without any further delay, let's get to why you're here. Thanks for checking out Wrestling Epicenter on YouTube.
Welcome back to another edition of The Pile Driver. I am Patrick Kelly, joined by James Walsh, and we are here with our special guest today, independent wrestling star Bud Ellis. Bud, how you doing?
Doing good. Bud, it's great to have you on the show. Unfortunately, some people haven't really heard of you, and yesterday you said a line that's kind of stuck with me. It's time for Bud Ellis to get a break, and if there's anything we can do to make that happen, we will. But why don't you give us a little bit of insight on your background in the wrestling business?
Okay. Let's see. As far as being in the professional realm of it, going on 10 years. Be 10 years in October. I was trained in Nashville, Tennessee, by Gypsy Joe, who is a true legend of the business.
Oh, yeah.
And had some stars pop in and out of the training. It was every Monday night, and it was very, very rough. I don't think I learned anything the first 2 months. I think Joe was just making sure that I was tough enough, so to speak. So I lasted, and it took me almost 9 months. I had my first match in Elizabethtown, Kentucky, with some tag team action. Scared to death. I'll never forget that night. Since then, I do what any other independent guy tries to do, and obviously make some money, get my name out there, and get on every show that you can. I also have a day job. I still have a day job, and I wrestle currently. I wrestle in Kentucky, Tennessee, Indiana, Ohio. Probably this summer I'll be going over towards Virginia and West Virginia. Summertime's real good for the independent wrestling circuit.
Now, you mentioned that you were trained in Nashville, and I've heard a lot of stories about being trained in Nashville, how it's a more old-school kind of style. Is that true?
It's very true. Like tonight, I wrestle in Franklin, Kentucky tonight, and I'm 6'3", about 225, 230 pounds. And I can't remember the guy's name that I wrestled tonight, but from what I understand, he's 5'8", 185, 190 pounds. So obviously I've got the size advantage, but one thing that doesn't concern me, it's just I'm not into the high flying, 3 flips off the top rope, kind of thing. I am old school, so to speak, and that's how I wrestle. And I tell these guys, that's what I'm going to do. If you want to book me, you can book me, but I do consider myself old school. I do some of the new stuff, but just traditional professional wrestling.
Do you think that they might go over the top with it lately, especially on the indie scene, where you see one match and there's 75 backflips in one match? Do you think that there's just too much of that?
Absolutely. I mean, you've got you get in the ring with some of these old guys. Gypsy Joe is still wrestling.
Right.
And he's in his late 70s. He was featured in WWE Magazine a few months back. And you get in there with Gypsy and you try that stuff with him, he's going to back in the corner and make your chest bleed, but with him chopping you. He's going to beat the living daylights out of you. And I'm not that type of person. I've got a big heart. It's I don't want anybody to make me mad or anything like that. I'm a man. I do have a temper, but yeah, I mean they do 75, 80 backflips in one match. I mean that's all fine and dandy. Go ahead and try to break your neck if you want to. I'm not built like that. So
exactly. You mentioned Gypsy Joe a lot. It was a couple of years ago that there was a match filmed for DVD where he had a bit of a problem with New Jack. Have you heard about that?
Yes, I have. I've talked to Gypsy about that.
What's your honest opinion of that whole thing?
Well, one thing you'll find out about me quick, unless you make me mad, I'm not going to badmouth you. And I've worked on some shows up in Evansville, Indiana, with New Jack 5-6 years ago, and I got the utmost respect for him. I believe he's a very tough individual. His style is pretty extreme in comparison to my style. But I was never on those shows when those two guys went at it. But from what I understand, from talking to Joe a couple of times and some other friends of mine, I think New Jack was just trying to prove the point that he might be, the new Gypsy Joe, so to speak. Because Gypsy, I mean, you can, I could give him everything that I've got. Mm-hmm. Everything that I've got, I can try to take his head off, and he's not going to feel a thing. He's tougher than nails. But
well, I mean, everybody keeps talking about the way that New Jack beat him up, but if you actually watch the tape, he was walking at the end of it. Gypsy was. So I mean, he couldn't have been that bad.
Yeah, he's tough. He sure is tough. But it's a tough business. Three months ago, I had probably the worst accident. By the grace of God, it's been the only bad accident I've had in the ring, and I thought I'd broke my left ankle, and it ended up being some torn ligaments, and I sprained my ankle, and I was doing a show actually here in Bowling Green, Kentucky, where I live at, and it happened halfway through the match, and I had a match to win, or try to win, so I had to finish, with everything that I had, and I ended up in the emergency room later on that night. The pain was unbearable, but you've got to be tough to be in the professional wrestling business, and you got so many people out there that's trying to do it now, and I think I expressed to you guys before that without the passion, if you don't have the passion for the business, you're never going to make it anywhere, not even in the independent circuit. It's not about the glitz and glamour and signing autographs and just trying to get your face out there where, God forbid you walk to the local Walmart and somebody might notice you. All that's part of it, but it's about the passion for the business, and that's what drives me today.
Exactly.
Do you see that quality lacking in some of the stars today?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. And I won't mention any names and things like that. But a lot of times on the independent shows, you'll have a superstar show up. And I'm not going to mention any names, but I've seen it happen, and it makes me sick. They cry like a baby if they don't get what they want, from the promoter or whatever, and they'll threaten this independent promoter and so on and so forth. And that's just being a baby. Where I knew, I've got somebody that come to mind. I'm not going to mention his name, but I knew this guy before he made it. And, before he was televised on cable network television, and he was not like that. He was the most humble individual you could ever meet. He'd give you the shirt off his back, and, that's one thing. If the good Lord's willing and Bud Ellis gets a break, which I feel I'm deserving of, I feel that I deserve a shot. I will always stay true to my roots. I will not let that happen whatsoever.
Well, you mentioned a couple things about TNA yesterday, and I think you made a valid point, especially when I watched the show with that in mind. And if it's okay with you, I'd like to ask you if you'd like to rehash that. You said that TNA was built on new faces, and when I watched the show last night, I didn't see any, aside from maybe Samoa Joe, that could be considered new faces. Do you think that maybe TNA needs to step back from using all the superstars and maybe start, building new superstars, building the future?
Well, I think they need a 50-50 mixture. TNA got started in Nashville, Tennessee at Fairgrounds.
Yep.
Where when I was a kid, that was one of the hottest spots for professional wrestling every Saturday night. So TNA got started there, and they had a lot of fresh faces. I had a lot of buddies that were going there. For some reason or another, Bud Ellis never got his break. So, but you can look at this in two ways. You've got Sting, you've got Scott Steiner, and you've got the other guys that are there, Jeff Jarrett, people that's been to the mountaintop and then they're still on the mountaintop. Those guys made wrestling what it is today. I still feel that you need them. But, however, when they hang their boots up, somebody's got to take their place. You know, it's like the music industry. You're always signing new talent, always got new faces on country music television or VH1 or MTV. You're always seeing somebody new, and the other people are paving the way for the new guys to come up. And I think fresh faces is key right now, not only for TNA. I feel it'd be that way for World Wrestling Entertainment as well.
Is there any young talent in TNA in particular that you don't feel is getting all that they deserve?
You know, this isn't a shoot. This isn't a shoot whatsoever. Two friends of mine were just released from TNA, and I feel like they did not get the recognition they deserved, and that's Chase Stevens and Andy Douglas.
Absolutely.
I have not talked or seen Chase or Andy since their release. You know, the Naturals, they fit together. I never would have thought it when the three of us were on the same show one night somewhere here in Kentucky or Tennessee. I never would have thought that, you know, that those two would mesh together the way they did. But, you know, they're not, they don't have Scott Steiner's muscles, but those guys, in my opinion, were true professional wrestlers who paid their dues, who run up and down the roads. Not to say that, you know, not anybody else has, but I just know that Chase and Andy, why they got released, I don't know. Why they weren't getting the TVD exposure, I don't know. But, you know, somebody will pick those guys up, and when they do that, they'll have a jewel on their hands. So.
Now you
actually interviewed Andy a little over a year ago, and he seemed to have such a great mind for the business that it really shocked me that they never really made their break.
Yeah, you know, at first they did. At first they did. They were doing a lot of things in Nashville, and I hear, and I don't know how much truth to this is, but I hear that, you know, Bert Prentice helped them out a bit, who I wrestle for as well, and you know, everybody always needs a push from somebody. I don't know too many people that just make it all on their own. You know, I don't know too many people that fly solo in this business, but you know, Chase and Andy are very good, and I rarely watch wrestling on television now, but when I do, it's to watch somebody that I know.
Now, when you watch WWE TV, you see a lot of characters that they pull up. They like to play on your character's traits and make it almost like a cartoon of itself. Like Ron Simmons becomes Farouk Assad instead of just being Ron Simmons, who we knew him as. Too Cold Scorpio becomes some kind of a funk dancer, and then of course there's in modern times there's the Cowboys, the Lance Cade and Trevor Murdoch, and they have to do things that are kind of like a throw off a Deliverance. Are you concerned that if you did make it to the big show that they would make you more of a kind of like a parody of yourself, like Larry the Cable Guy meets wrestling or something like that?
You know, no, that doesn't scare me. I'm not afraid of that. A good friend of mine that lives just miles from me is Hillbilly Jim.
Oh, wow.
And Hillbilly Jim, he's a country boy. He was raised here in Kentucky, and he stayed true to his heart. He took that all the way to the dance, so to speak. And that's what I would try to do. I don't think anybody can walk in Vince McMahon's office and say, okay, this is what I want to be, you know, this is how I want you to make me. He's the boss. He's writing your paycheck. So he's pretty much got you, you know, he's got you by your hands tied. But I think you look at the company WWE, I feel that they're probably smart enough to know what they need to do with anybody.
Exactly. And you mentioned Hillbilly Jim. About 2 years ago, I had a chance to interview him, and I also got a chance to meet him in person. And it's really shocking to see what a just nice, gentle man he is. I mean, I'm not surprised. Everybody always thinks that maybe thought up that he was just really that kind of hillbilly, which he isn't really. I mean, he was more.
No, he's not hillbilly.
Probably closer to.
You know, you want hillbillies? Go to East Kentucky. You'll find true hillbillies there. You know, everybody thinks, you know, the people who live in Kentucky are, you know, they're barefoot, we're broke, we don't have any money, we're drinking water out of a water well that's dug in our backyard, and that's so far from the truth. You know, I live in a very nice house myself. I've got a very, very good lifestyle. But hillbilly, as I put it, and I think he would agree with this, he's a country boy. And he will always be a country boy.
You mentioned that you have something to fall back on. You mentioned you have a day job. Would you mind at all telling us what you do have to fall back on?
Yeah, I'm an investment broker.
Exactly. Not exactly a small fry position either.
No, it's not. I went to the school of hard knocks. I did not, get a degree out of college, but in order to, to be a licensed broker, there's tests that you have to pass, and I've got the two securities license, that I need to do it, and it keeps me humble. I mean, it's not everything is getting inside a squared circle. I've got a family to support. I'm married, happily married. I've got a 4-year-old little girl who is, without a shadow of a doubt, my number one fan. And my wife is highly supportive of me. I've never been the kind of person that joins the gym and goes to the gym and lifts weights. I've got my own weights, my own workout equipment at home. My wife is always there working out with me. She makes sure that my diet stays where it needs to be, and she's to me what Mickey was to Rocky Balboa. And she's very supportive, and if the good Lord's will, and I'll say it again, that Bud Ellis gets a break, I owe my wife a real big thanks.
Yeah, do you think that, I think a lot of kids that get into the business are under the wrong impression of what it's going to be. I think they think, okay, I'll join the business, I'll go directly to OVW, and then WWE call me up. And I mean, I really do think that some people think that these days. And I mean, Jerry Lynn, I did a good interview with Jerry Lynn many years back, and I mean, he tells me about stories where he living out of his car eating bologna sandwiches that he got at a local day-old deli shop and things like that. And
no, it's not easy. I mean, I have not made stardom, as you mentioned, Jerry Lynn. Jerry Lynn's, I've never got to meet him before. I've got a good friend of mine, Chris Michaels. He wrestles Jerry Lynn quite a bit and talks highly of him. But we all go through that. It's it's what I was trying to say earlier. It's not all the glitz and glamour. It's not all the there's Bud Ellis or there's Chris Michaels or whoever the case may be. If you're out in public, it's not about that. It's what you got in your heart for the business that really matters. And I can remember back in the day, and sometimes even now, I mean, the investment business has its ups and downs, and that's what supports my wrestling and my family, my lifestyle. But I can remember back in the day, I would travel 50 miles, I would travel 250 miles, and I was paid solely off what, come through the gate, off ticket sales. And you were just hoping and praying you were with an honest promoter. They put 200 people in the seats, and you're like, well, I can get my gas money back. And at the end of the night, he would tell you to go to concessions and get you a hot dog and a bottle of water, and that was my payoff. And I felt good if I got that sometimes. And I would carpool with other wrestlers, and we'd split the gas money. And actually rode with Chris Michaels one time, and it smelled like his car was on fire, and his car leaked oil real bad. We pulled over to the gas station. He had just put oil in his car before I got over there to ride with him, and he let the oil cap off. And there was oil blowing all over his motor, and it was smoking. And those are times that I know Chris will never forget. I never forget, and I'm sure that everybody's got their own stories, but. No, you don't get trained and just all of a sudden get on Monday Night Raw or TNA on Spike. That's not going to happen. You've got to pay your dues. I mean, look at Cassidy Riley. He wrestled his butt off and went up down the road for 12 years, and he just got signed.
Exactly.
Do you find it hard to balance the two? Like you mentioned that you were a stockbroker and stuff like that. Do you have a hard time balancing your life as a stockbroker and your life as a professional wrestler?
The people I work with, they know I do it. I'm sure a few of them's like, well, that guy's bumped his head, but, to each their own. And I mean, this is, there's been times, and I won't lie, there's been times that late at night I've been sitting around and I've just wanted to give up. Just give up and just be a stockbroker and just be the family man, so to speak. And then again, here's my wife she's quite a bit smaller than I am, but she grows 10 feet tall and she's bulletproof real quick, and she gets me right back in it again. But Yeah, it's not easy balancing, between being an investment broker and being a professional wrestler. I mean, my weekends, starting tonight at 5 o'clock, I'll leave home and I won't quit wrestling until Sunday night when I go to bed. Then Monday morning, I'm back in my office. So it's it can get to you if you're not careful.
Are you prepared for the potential WWE traveling schedule?
Yes, I am. I travel quite a bit now, and I think what a bad traveling schedule would hurt more than anything would be your family. But I've been, I'll say again, I might be repeating myself. I've been blessed to have a woman that's married to me that stands behind me and knows that this is my dream. It's not something that I want to get recognized for just so I can be noticed. This is for me. I mean, this is something I've got pictures of myself when I was 5, 6 years old, and I was dressing like a wrestler. This is what I want to do ever since I was a kid.
Unfortunately, I wasn't blessed with the tools to be a professional wrestler. I've got a bit of a vision problem, but I also do, I do lift weights when I can and everything. And I've always wanted to be involved in the business. And it's always great when you find that one person who can share your dream. And me and my wife, we're getting ready to take this website over to make it our entire livelihood. It's going to be our business. And I mean, it's really good when you find somebody who believes in what you do enough to look past what they might think of it or have thought of it 10 years before they knew you.
Yeah. And it's I feel that when your dream is real, when your dream is real and it's true, like professional wrestling is to me. Every time before my music hits, every night, I'm scared to death. And I believe if you don't have that fear, you may be in it for the wrong reasons. And it's not the scared of getting hurt. And I really don't even know what the fear is, but that's what drives me, is that fear. But once I step through those ropes, I feel like $1 million. I mean, nothing would stop me at that point.
Now, if you ever did make it to the WWE, what goals would you have for yourself?
Well, my saying is, and I say it quite a bit, is one of these days I'm going to be at the biggest dance of them all, and I want to headline WrestleMania.
Okay. Now, do you
better than that.
Exactly. Do you think that you're? And I'm not picking on you by no means, but do you think that WWE is becoming basically following suit with the indies? Because I mean, in a lot of ways, they follow suit with ECW, which was essentially an indie, and a lot of times you see them kind of borrowing things from the local indies, where a lot of the high flying stuff becomes the norm. Do you think WWE is kind of following suit with that, and does that concern you, considering that your style is, as you say, more old school, but in my opinion, it's just the right way to do it so you don't actually kill yourself?
No, it doesn't concern me. And the reason I say that is, and I can only speak for myself, but I've been on many cards where they've had those high flyers, is what I call them, the people that do the flips, and I've had guys try that stuff on me, and at the end of the night, the fans' reaction, I feel that the fans' reaction with an old school match is just as good, if not better, than you get one pop doing a backflip off the top ropes and landing on somebody. Mm-hmm. If I pick somebody up on my head and I throw them down and almost break their back, I believe they'll remember that too. So.
Exactly. And do you think? I mean, obviously, your thoughts. I guess your roots would be Jerry Lawler.
Pardon?
I guess part of your roots would be like Jerry Lawler and guys like that.
Oh, absolutely, Jerry the King Lawler. Jeff Jarrett. I remember Jeff Jarrett when he was a referee. The International Heartthrob, Austin Idol. I remember when the Road Warriors come through Tennessee, and nobody had ever seen anything like that before. Randy Savage, Dr. Tom Pritchard, the Fabulous Ones, Jackie Fargo, who's a very, very nice guy. And I could sit here for hours and just name the guys that I watched when I was a kid. And when I watch wrestling now, I'm a subscriber to WWE 24/7 and solely for the old stuff. That's where I learn.
Exactly. I mean, I'll sit there for hours to this day. They used to have these classic wrestling pay-per-view series, and they'd have stuff from the 70s like Briscoe versus Funk and things like that on there. And I'd sit there. I mean, this is before I was born, and I'll sit there and watch that stuff, and I'll love that more than sometimes than what I see on Monday night.
Yeah, I mean, you put Jerry the King Lawler or Bill the Superstar Dundee, put those two together again. That was one of the best tag teams. The Fabulous Ones, Steve Keirn, Stan Lang. No doubt one of the best tag teams from what I understand. Jackie Fargo put those two together. You put a 80s, late 1970s, 1980s tag team against one of the tag teams today, and they'll mop the floor with them.
Yeah, absolutely. I actually have a story myself. I was just watching old tapes of some of the stuff that I watched. It was like WWF late 80s, early 90s. And there was a match on there between Randy Savage and Jason St. Roberts from the Saturday Night Main Event. I think the match went like 6 or 7 minutes, but it was, I can honestly say it was better than about 70% of the stuff I've seen in the last decade.
Yeah.
Great stuff.
Oh,
I've got, speaking of those high flyers, I've been in the ring with plenty of them, and they'll go to put a headlock on me, and they don't even know what they're doing.
Right.
They don't even have a clue.
Right.
And, they'll say, a lot of these young kids, they'll say, what do you do? And, well, I wrestle. That's what I do. I'm not a gymnast.
Exactly. I actually, very early into getting involved in this kind of media thing, I made friends with a female who's more into doing these backflips and things. And I mean, my big thing was, don't worry about doing the backflips. Do a body slam, then look at the crowd. You'll get the same reaction.
Yeah, I mean, I think as a professional wrestler, when you're on the indie circuit, outside of the extreme stuff, I feel for a guy like myself, and 99% of the fans like me, I'm rarely hated. But I told myself when I first got started that one of the main areas I was always going to focus as far as who was I going to pay attention to that bought the ticket that night, and first and foremost, it's the kids. And I always make sure that, each and every kid, if they're extending their hand to me or if they're not, they know that Bud Ellis looked at them. And then put on good, clean entertainment and give the kids something to come back for and have a parent's reason enough to believe that they need to bring them.
All right. 2 more questions I have for you, then Patrick can finish up the interview if you'd like to. Well, I've interviewed Hulk Hogan and JBL, 2 guys that are considered old school these days, and I mean, I respect the heck out of both guys. Hulk Hogan is the reason I became a fan, which might not be what you want to hear because he was a New Yorker, but they both gave me the same exact line, and it's really stuck with me. And he says when they watch some of the shows that they get invited to perform on or what have you, they see all these kids who, unimpressive bodies or whatever, and he says, yeah, they might know the moves, but they don't know wrestling. And do you think that's the case with a lot of guys you see these days?
Absolutely. I got one of the best compliments that I've gotten in a long time from somebody that knew what they was talking about, being Jim Cornette a few weeks ago. And after my match, he said, I can't quote him, but he basically said, you look good in there, and everything that you did was solid. Keep it up. And I knew what he meant by that. But I totally agree with those comments.
All right, and my final question is the one that people hate to hear, but where do you think you're going to be in 5-10 years? Do you think you'll get your break, or are you still just hoping?
I've got everything that I need, that I know of, going in my direction right now. I've had conversations with some bigger companies, and I'll leave that statement at that, by way of telephone. And I know that I got some people looking at me, and I think sooner or later they'll find a spot for me. So I'm not going to quit. I told my wife, I said, if it doesn't happen in 10 years, I'm gonna hang it up. She says, no, you won't. And that's because she knows that I won't. I won't. I'm not a quitter. And if somebody says I can't do something, just hide and watch.
All right, last two questions I have for you is, one, have you ever worked with anybody that does the high-flying style, right? Like, maybe like a Shawn Michaels or anybody along those lines?
As far as a superstar?
Well, I mean, no, just anybody who,
in the independent scene, yeah.
who doesn't overdo it, but does that high-flying stuff, but doesn't do it to the point where it becomes overkill.
Absolutely. I mean, even myself, I'll get up on the top rope and I'll jump off with an elbow or a crossbody or, something like that. But I even do that myself, depending upon the ring. I mean, it's some of these rings are better than others, and some of the ropes I don't trust. But yeah, I've been in there with plenty of guys like that.
You ever gotten in a lumpy ring?
Oh, I've had a ring collapse on me.
I knew somebody who actually took a power bomb on a lumpy ring, and it actually knocked them out. I mean, oh yeah. I mean, I can believe.
I had I can't remember the guy's name, but he was about half my size, and halfway through the match, I picked him up over my head. Fans are looking, in awe, and I go to slam him, and as soon as this kid hits the mat, all four corner posts folded. And you would have thought that I just killed this guy. I fell down, and it was, I think I was semi-main event or something that night, but anyways, it was a scary scene.
Oh boy.
Well, last question I have, if you ever did make it to the WWE, what would your dream match be? Is there anybody in particular that you want to work with? Because I'm looking at the rosters right now, and there's a lot of guys that are just, even now, even in today's modern times, we still have a lot of old school kind of guys like Finley and William Regal, and even bigger stars like Triple H or Shawn Michaels. Is there anybody that you would just love to work with?
Ric Flair.
Ric Flair. Do you think you'll be in there as long as Rick has lasted in there?
Absolutely.
And do you think Wick's going to stick around as long as Gypsy has?
Yes and no. I mean, it's in his blood. I mean, Rick was the only survivor on an airplane crash, broke his back, and still takes care of his body. You can see that when he takes the backdrop, he lands on his hip. Right. He knows he can't land on his back. Rick has the passion without a shadow of a doubt. He's not the kind of guy that always has to have the gold around his waist. He's humble. I have met Ric Flair. And he was a very nice gentleman. Actually, the first time I met him, I was 12 years old, and I was standing behind him, and he was on the card wrestling Hogan that night in Nashville, and he was standing in front of me in line at the concessions getting a cup of coffee. And he turned around and just said, "Excuse me," and I said, "Whoa, can I have a picture?" And I'll never forget that as a kid. But since then, since I've been in professional wrestling, I've met Rick, and he's humble. But there's a list of names of guys that I would love to work, and I feel that one of the up-and-comers in the WWE that is somewhat old school, for lack of better words, is Kenny Dykstra.
Oh yeah.
Oh wow.
You know who I really like too, and it's not just because of the country connection or anything, but I really think that Murdoch has a lot of. I mean, they named him right because he looks like a spitting image of Dick Murdoch.
Oh yeah, Murdoch's good. And I don't want to say that the tag team is holding Lance Cade back, but if Lance Cade ever gets in singles action, you better watch out.
He's got a look, and he's a better worker than I think he gets credit for.
Well, he's unbelievable, and I've seen them both. I've seen them both live, and they're real good. But we'll see what the future holds. Just I'll tell you this: you just hide and watch, and you'll be pulling this out of archives one day when you see Bud Ellis on the big stage.
Excellent. So where can people, if they wanted to get in a hold of you or book you for a show or just to find out more information about Bud Ellis, where can they find you?
Well, if it's a promotion or something like that, feel free to contact you guys. You guys have my information. I do have a MySpace page. You search for Cowboy Bud Ellis. I do a cowboy gimmick. sometimes I do the Cowboy, sometimes I don't. But Cowboy Bud Ellis is my MySpace. I live here in Bowling Green, Kentucky, home of the Chevrolet Corvette. I was born and raised here. I don't see myself moving away, and the only thing that would pull me away would be professional wrestling.
Excellent, man. Well, one last question, and this is more for Patrick because he's more of a fan of, I'm sure, what kind of music it'll be. But what's your theme song?
Cowboy by Kid Rock.
Okay. We got Patrick's our resident country music fan, so he knows.
Yeah, I think I'm the only one in my state that likes country music.
Well, and I mean, if you go to my MySpace page, most people have a song on their MySpace page, and actually mine is Rodney Atkins. These are my people.
Right, I was actually just at your MySpace right before we started the interview, and pretty nice setup and everything. Love the song, and I noticed that your favorite movie was Rocky, and that's my favorite movie too.
My daughter is 4 years old, and she can't say Balboa. She says Balboy. And one of the first movies my daughter ever watched inside of a theater was the latest Rocky. I guess Rocky Balboa or Rocky 6, whatever you want to call it. But Rocky, if you're a true fan of the human spirit and you're a true fan of somebody chasing their dreams and making it, Rocky is by far the best example that can be said for anyone. Exactly. And I'm 29 years old. I'll be 30 years old in November, and I still watch Rocky. It will always be my favorite movie. It drives my wife nuts, and people know it. My brother-in-law will call me, and he'll say, hey, Saturday is Sylvester Stallone Day, and they're going to have Rocky 1 through 5 on all day long. And unless I'm booked on a show, which most time I am on a Saturday night, I'm in front of the TV. It never gets old.
It never does. All right, Bud. Well, we look forward to seeing it, and I'm sure you are going to make it because you certainly have a grasp on the business. I mean, I interviewed over the years, I've interviewed some guys, and I can tell when they do or don't have a brain for the business. Like one guy's all about his finishing move, which is like there's no setup for it at all. Just I want to do my backflip, double backflip thingy. Like, you got to have some kind of setup. The guy's just not going to lay there. But I mean,
here's what I've got, and I will say this, and I know we may be running short on time, but you go back 10, 15 years ago, and you ask Jerry Lawler what's your finishing move, and he's going to tell you he's going to punch you right square in your mouth. People ask me, they say, what's your finishing move? And I'll say, whatever it takes to get to 3 count. That's my finishing move. I don't care what I got to do. I pulled a chain out of my tights, and I pulled a chair out of the audience, and I've had them pulled on me too. I've had beer bottles crushed against my head. And I've had all kinds of things happen. But if my finishing move's only as good as the person that's doing it, I'll leave it at that. And if you're going to do a finish on me, you better land it pretty rock solid. If not, I'm going to get up and you'll have a tornado coming at you then.
All right, well, I'm sure we will see you certainly in WWE in the near future. Because like I said,
any kind of advice for me with what you've seen on MySpace, with the way I look? Tell me what you'd like to see.
I don't know. I mean, you kind of put me on the spot there.
I know I did. Y'all had me on the spot for the last 30 minutes.
All I can say is,
listen,
seriously, keep doing what you're doing. Keep doing what you're doing. And like they always say, like Hogan always says, this is what I always tell people. Don't worry so much about the move, even if you botch it. People will buy it as long as you don't act like you botched it. So.
Yeah, I mean, it's all about the people that buy the tickets.
Exactly.
It's what it's about.
Exactly. Never forget that you can use people as numbers as a gate, but each individual person, you got to sell them to come back again. So.
Oh, absolutely. I sell pictures. I sell T-shirts. Among other things, I sell all kinds of things. And most of the time, my wife, she's my salesman. She's the one at the show sitting at my table selling my stuff. And I've had kids come up, and I was selling a picture for $3, $4, $5, and then I'll watch the kid. The kid will go ask their mom and dad for the money, and I'll see the mom or dad shake their head no, and I just know that if they might have wrote pennies for a week just to get enough money to buy the ticket, get in the show. Do you think I'm gonna let that kid go home without a picture? I don't think so. I personally walk that picture over to that kid, and it's free. If you're in the independent wrestling circuit to make a living, you're in the wrong business.
Okay.
You got to be in the wrestling business, like I said, because it's in your blood, and it's your passion, and because you love it. And if you're fortunate enough to get called up to TNA, WWE, and I've heard some other rumors of some big organizations about to start back up, well, that's when you can make your living. Until then, you got to keep it real.
All right, man. Well, once again, we wish you the best of luck, and hope you remember us when you're on WWE Monday Night Raw.
Absolutely. You guys feel free to call me anytime. I've enjoyed it.
All right, thanks so much. Take care of yourself.
Very much.
Hey, no problem. Y'all stay cool in Arizona and stay cool in Maryland, and God bless you guys.
That's what the Air Force. Can I ask for one last favor?
Sure.
Would you mind giving us a station identification, basically saying this is Cowboy Bud Ellis and you're listening to the Pile Driver?
Yeah, this is Cowboy Bud Ellis, and you are listening to the Pile Driver.
Excellent. Thanks so much, man. We really do appreciate it.
My name is James Walsh, and I'd like to thank you for checking out the Wrestling Epicenter here on YouTube. If you have not done so already, please do. Click that subscription button and the notifications bell. This way you'll be notified anytime I upload any new or new to you classic content from our archives that date back to 2002. If you get the opportunity, please also check out www.wrestlingepicenter.com for all your wrestling news and info needs, as well as our store to keep us going free and clear. Without any further delay, let's get to why you came here, the content here on YouTube.